So our first talk of the afternoon is from Paul Cook. He's general manager at Irvine Ranch Water District. They're one of our longtime members of National Water Research Institute. We appreciate that, Paul. Paul's here to talk about their groundwater banking program, something they've instituted the past few years. Paul, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thanks for being here.
How do I fire this up? No, you just click on that. Yeah, clap while I'm figuring this thing out here. All right. Thanks, Bob. And you're drinking our water, just so you know. How's everybody like the water today? Great, thanks, Jeff. I'm going to talk today. First, I'll do a little introduction on Irvine Ranch Water District, for those of you who aren't familiar with us. We'll go over that, and then talk about drought preparedness at IRWD, things we've done, water use efficiency, some of the diversification things we've done at the agency, and then get into really the main part of my presentation is going to be on our groundwater banking program. And then we'll hopefully have time for questions at the end. And I appreciate Jeff putting me in this order. We were talking, hopefully nobody used the cliche recently about whiskey for fighting and water. I hate that cliche. It's totally overused. But a better Mark Twain cliche is everybody talks about the weather, but nobody does anything about it. So thanks to Marty and Michael for talking about it. I'm going to talk about what we've done about the weather and things we've done to take weather into account. So thanks, guys. Irvine Ranch Water District, a special district. We have a publicly elected board of governors. Steve Lamar, one of my board members, is here. Thanks, Steve. NWRI board member as well. Our customer base, about 350,000 people, residents, swells to about 500,000 during the day. We have some large business centers, not what you think of in Irvine, but kind of what we've turned into over the years, as well as UC Irvine. It's become a very large UC campus, and a lot of folks come to town to go to UCI. So it gets to be quite a large size during the day. We count by service connections also a little over 100,000 service connections. We serve the city of Irvine exclusively, the water, but we also serve most of Lake Forest, portions of Tustin, Newport Beach, and Orange, and of course the unincorporated counties of the or areas of the county as well. This is a quick matrix organization is kind of how we run, but really just to show that we're a full-service agency. I have a board of directors, and then really all the support departments you could ever dream of having in a retail water agency, engineering, operations, public affairs, the whole gamut. So it's a great group of folks. We have what we call 4 lines of business. Again, potable water. We have those, customers to serve the drinking water. Through that, we have not only the imported water supplies, we have drinking water facilities in terms of treatment plants where we take untreated water or impaired groundwater sources. We'll talk a little bit about those. 25 wells. Most of those wells are bringing up water from the Orange County Water District area basin, which is northern Orange County. Requires chlorine, and that's about it. And then through that, we have about a 1,500-mile pipeline distribution system to serve our potable water to all of our customers. Sewage collections, we also don't work on the wastewater side, so we have about 1,000 miles of sewage collection pipeline, which brings water to our 2 water recycling plants. I'm working on banning the word wastewater at the agency. I'm pretty successful so far. I've avoided using it in my presentations, but we don't look at any of our water that comes through our sewage collection system as wastewater. We try to recycle all of it, or as much as we can anyways, and we're working towards recycling all of it. 2 water recycling plants, 28 million gallons per day, one here in Irvine, one down in the Lake Forest area. The larger of the 2 is here in Irvine, 28 million gallons per day. And about 500 miles of recycled water pipelines, which has really been our key to success for our water recycling program, is putting in those pipelines as the communities that we serve have developed along the way. So we're sort of unique in that sense, having done recycling since the 1960s, I believe. Urban runoff treatment is sort of our 4th line of business. We actually are responsible for operating facilities that divert low-flow urban runoff from certain neighborhoods, run them through natural treatment systems where the nutrients are taken up, and then that water gets put back into the San Diego Creek watershed, ends up in the Back Bay with a lot less nutrients and bad stuff in it. So we provide that service to our customers as well. So drought preparedness through water use efficiency. I'll talk briefly about water use efficiency, some of the things we've done. Number 1 on our list for the things we've done to basically water conservation, our allocation-based rate structure. I know John Rossi is going to talk a little bit about rates. We have a very similar rate structure, so I won't go too deep into it. But looking at the chart, you can see, I'll tell you right now, we instituted this structure back in 1991, and it doesn't take a statistician to look at the chart and go, wow, what happened back then? Oh, that's what happened back then. And it's been a phenomenal success for us, really driven our water conservation efforts and still does to this day. We also do landscape irrigation management, focusing on the outdoor uses, since that's the predominant use of water in our service area, green belts, homeowner association areas, things like that. And then new technologies. We're always looking for new applications, whether it's the low flush toilets that are super low flush, or weather-based irrigation controllers and other such devices. So we certainly do those sorts of programs as well. But you can see kind of the results of a program that was begun back in the time period of the 1990s, and it's been a very sustained result for us. So water supply diversification, this is another way that we've actually prepared ourselves for droughts and different supply kind of interruptions. So let's see, where's the laser on this? Back in 1990 is kind of where it began for the Irvine Ranch Water District Board in terms of diversification. We had some what's the dark blue is clear water. We had already had a fairly robust recycled water system in place at the time, but this was of concern to our board back in the early 90s. That very light, large blue bar, that's our imported water supply. That's Metropolitan. And we thought, if we could become less reliant on that and more reliant on local supplies, that would be better in general for our customers. So we began a program to get us to where we are. This is 2011, but it's pretty close to today. And you can see it's a little bit more spread out. And in the long run, we're looking at becoming even more diversified, still relying heavily on recycled water. This is groundwater. The dark blue is untreated groundwater, or basically just all it takes is chlorine, clear water. This little beigeish bar here is impaired water supplies. We have nitrates in our local water supplies. We have color from the deeper aquifers. So we treat those water supplies, and then we can use that water for drinking water purposes. And look at that little tiny blue bar at the top there. That's good. So again, going down the list, high-quality groundwater, check. Treated groundwater, check. Recycled water, we're still doing very well. We still will rely on imported water to some extent. But what we really thought about a few years ago, let's say about 10 years ago, we started really thinking hard about our long-term contingency storage. What happens if, and really the variable being that imported water supply. And there's a number of different outage situations that we could be faced with. But we thought about a protracted drought that would result in an allocation situation. How would that affect our agency? Not the doom and gloom worst case, 50-year drought, but something that's reasonably understandable, a 5-year, 7-year kind of a drought situation that would result in allocations. So when we looked at that, we said, well, why would we want to have a contingency storage? Well, it's really to augment our supply over a 3-year period, whether it's a delta failure, again, a drought situation. And then how could we do that? And that's where we came up with the concept of a water banking program through which we could put about 88,000 acre-feet of banked water. 88,000 acre-feet sounds like we really thought about it. We actually did really think about it. 88,000 acre-feet is about, it's a portion of our supply, factoring in our imported water supply, factoring in some conservation. If we're in a protracted drought situation, our customers will know. So I know Darcy's going to talk about messaging and things like that. We have a great messaging tool beyond ads and flyers. We have a thing where we can actually lower our allocation on our rates, which would mean it's going to cost more to use more water. So we've got lots of tools to communicate. So there'll be some conservation, but we thought if that imported water supply is not there, how do we augment that? 88,000 acre-feet will carry us through that reduced amount for over a 3-year period. So let's talk about our groundwater. Isn't that the greatest logo for our water banking program? That's my public affairs group. They're fantastic. So overview of our program, we have, it's up in Kern County. I know it's not quite in Orange County anymore, but 761 acres of actual recharge basins. So basins that are shown here from the sky. I think one of my board members, Director Swan, likes to fly when he goes to SEC, when he leans out. Is it the left side, Steve? I know he's very specific about which window he has to be at. So he can take pictures, and then he calls staff and says, why aren't they not full? So anyway, they were full that day. It was a great shot. So 761 acres of basins. We have also, for recovery purposes, we have 7 production wells, and those wells combined can produce 17,500 acre-feet per year. Now, they can actually produce a bit more, but under the terms of our CEQA documents, we said you can actually do environmental damage if you extracted water out too quickly in a short period of time. So we're limited by our CEQA documents to the 17,500 acre-feet per year based on those current 7 wells. 50,000 acre-feet of storage capacity in the Strand Ranch. We have two facilities. One's called the Strand Ranch and one's called the Stockdale Ranch. Strand Ranch was our first purchase, and it's basically up and running. Stockdale is, we're wrapping up the environmental documentation part. That will get us to the 88,000 acre-feet of storage when you combine Strand and Stockdale. The key to, going up there and actually buying the land was an important strategy for us. We didn't want to go up there and lease or look like, who knows, carpetbaggers or however else we could have been portrayed as folks from Orange County coming up just to strip the water off the land. We really wanted to have partnerships. We really wanted to show the community we're in it for the long haul. Buying the land was our first step. Establishing partnerships with key agencies in the area was second. Rosedale Rio Bravo Water Storage District, we have an excellent relationship with, and we're basically tied at the hip. We rely on them for operating our facilities in that area. They're really our eyes and ears when we're up there. Staff goes up there very often, but really Rosedale ends up doing a lot of the hands-on work for us. Buena Vista Water Storage District is another water storage district, and these two agencies are really dedicated to the purpose of storing water, primarily for the agricultural uses in that area. Very sophisticated system. These aren't simple farmers up there. I don't know if anybody ever thinks that, but if you do, first to tell you, these are very sophisticated individuals. The system up there is very well developed, and it's really the agricultural business is driving all of this. So we were able to piggyback onto that. Our work with Buena Vista Water Storage District is more water supply, having relationships with them to ability to move water into the ground and out of the ground for both of our benefits. I'll talk a little bit more about that. And then, of course, we're down here, a little retail water agency in Orange County. Our reach doesn't quite go that far, so we do rely on the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California, being the state water project contractor. So for exchange arrangements, conveyance is probably the key to work with them, getting water into the canal, down to Southern California, and then to IRWD. So Metropolitan's obviously a very important partner for us. This is a good map. It kind of shows where we fit kind of relative to California. So you can see, everybody kind of knows where Bakersfield is at the southern edge of the Central Valley. If I could frame it out with a couple of canals here, a couple of key water conveyance improvements right here. The Kern Canal, Friant Kern Canal, California Aqueduct over here, and then the Cross Valley Canal cuts across here. Kern River happens to flow similar to that. What a great confluence of infrastructure facilities. We found this land here. We go around, we have some rabbits that we keep in the back of our trucks, and we look for carrots growing. Carrots love to grow in sandy soils, so we found a couple of carrot farms. I think Stockdale, wasn't that Grimway, who used to own the Stockdale Ranch? So everybody knows Grimway, the little bunny love carrots. Those are great. Well, we bought that land from them. Great recharge land. And you can see just not only the characteristics of the land, but also the location right across from the Cross Valley Canal. We're able to get water out of the canal, back into the canal, depending on our mode. So again, about 600 acres total on Strand Ranch, 325 acres total on Stockdale Ranch, and those were both acquired just in the past 10 years. So our goal, as I mentioned earlier, it's really to secure surplus water supplies during wet periods. That's my point about the weather. California's got tons of water. I don't probably say we have enough water. Problem is it comes at the wrong time when we don't need it, and it ain't around when we do need it. So if you can kind of shave off those peaks and valleys and get the water somewhere where you can then come back and utilize it when we need it, that's the key to success. So during wet periods, if we can have a place to put the water, that would take off that part of the peak in terms of having the water around. So water from the State Water Project, the way we've kind of formulated a strategy to get water in the ground is through unbalanced exchanges for what we call Table A water from State Water Project contractors. That's a whole mouthful, but what we mean by when we say unbalanced exchanges, we've got agencies, there's a couple deals listed here, Central Coast Water Authority as well as AVEC, Antelope Valley East Kern Water Agency. Unbalanced exchanges for us, we thought originally, well, boy, we can go procure water, for example. We could buy water from way somewhere else in the state and bring it down with our name on it and put it in the ground. Well, that seems to work, and those are called transfers, and that's basically exchanging money for water. What we were able to realize is that sometimes these agencies in Central Coast and Antelope AVEC had water at a time when they didn't know what else to do with it. And so we said, sure, we'll take it on an unbalanced exchange basis. Basically, if they put in, say, 2 acre-feet, they could take out 1 acre-foot later. And that's an oversimplification. We do these deals more in the hundreds or in the thousands of acre-feet. But basically, a 2-for-1 exchange would look something like that. So we've expended nothing in terms of buying water. These other agencies have the water, and it's mutually beneficial because if they hadn't put it into our water bank, these agencies up in that area would have just probably gone to waste. So it is, again, mutually beneficial, and we're very proud of that fact. The second bullet here, Irvine Ranch Water District's Jackson Ranch. We bought some property in, I believe it was 2011 timeframe, and our Jackson Ranch is in the Kings County area. And it's right off the 5 as you drive north, and it had some agricultural usages on it, but it also had water associated with it. That particular piece of property, it's 883 acres, but it also has 7,600 acre-feet of storage. That's participation rights in the Kern Water Bank. So we're able to move Table A water associated with that piece of property eventually into our water bank. So that becomes a source of supply. So it's not unlike other deals we could do with other landowners. In this particular case, with this particular piece of property, we're the landowners, so we can do this exchange between Dudley Ridge Water District and then ourselves and the other folks that we deal with in between to get the water into the ground. On non-state water project supplies, we have Kern River flows. That's through Rosedale. In those sorts of exchanges, it's a 20% leave behind that Rosedale has, so I guess it would be a 5-to-1. Kern River high flow of pre-1914 water. If you know the jargon, pre-1914 water is like gold. You can do anything you want with pre-1914 water because the rights associated with pre-1914 are so strong. You get beyond that, even Table A, there's rules associated with where you can move water and when. But pre-1914 is very valuable water. And with Buena Vista Water Storage District, again, because it was high flow water off the Kern River, and this is back a couple of years ago. We talked about 2011 being a wet year. That was right when we actually got our recharge facilities able to put water in the ground. We just started putting water in the ground. So that was very fortuitous for timing. So we have that arrangement with the Buena Vista Water Storage District for pre-1914 water, and then other wet year exportable supplies as available. So, and those are we're always looking for creative deals. All we need to have happen now is for it to rain again, right? So we're still hoping for that. I talked a little bit about Metropolitan Water District and our partnership with them. A couple of key arrangements, coordinating, operating, and exchange agreements. These are basically the rules of engagement that we'll have for MET to act on our behalf to move water to Southern California. And we executed this back in 2011 for the State Water Project water. So it's delivered to IRWD through exchange. So again, these molecules aren't little bottles that come to our doorstep. It goes in there and comes out here. And that's fine. Met can borrow supplies from us. So again, there's something in it for Metropolitan to facilitate these deals for us. And then Met can actually take the water that they would borrow and store it in Southern California. Now the wheeling arrangement, wheeling is basically their ability to move the water down here. This is key to the exchanges in terms of getting the water down here, and Met cannot borrow supplies it. When we put it in for our benefit, it means it's coming down for our benefit. We're still working on this arrangement. We're getting through some exportability issues. While we have great local partners up there, everybody's watching our transaction to see how it's going to play out because this could be the start of something. This is a wholesale mad water rush from urban agencies going out to the Central Valley, but it is precedent setting in some respects, and we want to make sure that everybody understands what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and we're being very transparent about it. So we are continuing to work with Metropolitan on that. Hopefully we can get that done by the end of this year and move some water in the this coming spring. So our 88,000 goal of storage. 36,000 acre feet, I mentioned back in 2011, we actually already have 36,000 acre feet in storage from that 1 year. A lot of that's been taken out on that 2-for-1 exchange, but some of that has been left behind for us with the 2-for-1 exchange. So it's what's in there. We actually have about 20% of our 88,000 already in the ground, ready to go. Mutual beneficial, we talked about that in terms of our partners. Rosedale, for example, we have arrangements by which if they needed to recharge water, say during the growing season, and we didn't need that water at that particular point in time, they could use our wells. And same thing on the recharge side. We have all kinds of arrangements and looking forward to having more relationships with our good friends at Rosedale in that area. The cost objective is staying under Metropolitan Water District's Tier 2 water rates. I have a little graphic that will show the cost. So we feel this is an extremely reasonable target and resultant price on where we're getting. And remember, we were lucky with our exchange deals in that we didn't spend a lot of money buying water, and that would continue to be our goal, is to hopefully hit a couple wet years every now and again and get some water in the ground, and then it'll be ready for us when the drought comes and we want to move water south for our benefit. So our next step, as I mentioned, is to move water out of the Central Valley down to Irvine. And we're going to target about 1,000 acre-feet, again, just to see how it works. Amazing things happen when you try things and people come out of the woodwork. Here's the graph I mentioned about the cost chart, so you can see what the cost of water looks like in a Metropolitan Water District penalty situation. It's pretty rough. Then you get into Met Full Service Tier 2 water, Tier 1 water, and lo and behold, Strand Ranch water is right in line with that Tier 1 water, and that's a great place for us to be. Again, this doesn't take into account the capital. It's net of capital, but we're pretty conservative in our numbers. Worst case, and this deal didn't work out, we'd be sitting on some pretty valuable property. Another benefit to purchasing the land if we had to take an exit strategy and leave the scene, but we don't have any intention of doing that. Everything's been working very well so far. And that concludes my presentation. I would like to mention Director Lamar, but Paul Weghorst, my Director of Water Resources, is here. This is really Paul's baby. He makes me look smart. He goes to Bakersfield and does the deals. So, yeah, so any questions on the water banking?
I'm curious, what is the percentage of your, how much recycled water, or, in a simple percentage of all your water that you have that is used for potable, how much are you able to recover?
Well, we don't use our recycled for potable yet, but of our total water demand for our, what we see is our total water demand of all of our customers, all the water we sell, it's about 22% right now. So recycled water demands are pretty consistent, which is good because our sewage flows are pretty consistent too. It's a good thing. But that weather fluctuations and things like that will kind of factor in. But our marginal source of supply is really that imported water, so we try to knock that off first. So it's about 22% to 25% on the recycled water. Sure. I got one more up here.
How concerned are you with the fracking industry and the potential for environmental disasters to happen within the groundwater basins?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. The question was on fracking. We're concerned. It's something we're watching very carefully. We're in oil country up there, and not so much as in the kind of the Taft and Oildale side of the valley, but it's of concern. A couple of concerns: the water quality. These are activities happening thousands of feet down, but of course spills can happen and fractures and things. We're hopeful that when the wildcatters kind of leave the scene and the real companies come in, that they'll be a little bit more responsible. I haven't heard of any wholesale disasters going on, but so we're very cognizant and careful to watch. In our general area, we haven't seen it. But the other part that we're concerned about, and we all should be as water professionals in California, is the amount of water that fracking needs. And if that's going to start diverting water away from ag or urban applications for fracking purposes, it's great. We got lots of oil now, but we don't have any lettuce or other things that we need to eat, or drink. So we're watching it very carefully, and it is a concern. Yes, sir.
Just a quick question. Under the 2-for-1 exchange agreement, can you make withdrawals independently of the other party, or do those withdrawals have to be taken at the same time?
No, it's completely independent. As I said, there are withdrawals going on right now. Obviously, we're in a pretty dry year, so those have been happening by Buena Vista and Central Coast are happening. We're leaving ours behind because it hasn't gotten quite that dire for us yet. So it'll be like, well, are we in the beginning of a drought, or are we just coming off the? That'll be the fun decision to make when that day, if that day comes. I guess when. So, okay. Good. Well, thanks so much. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.